Brent, it's great to see you. How you doing right now?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So right now I want to talk about your future and where you're going. And I heard through the rumor mill that you were considering joining the Coast Guard. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So basically, I'm not a college athlete anymore, and I'm trying to find my next team, if you will. Something, acquires leadership and different stuff like that. So just looking at different professions, I think the Coast Guard would be a great opportunity. I'm applying for OCS, which would just put me in the Coast Guard as an officer. So right now that's my goal. So that's what I'm working towards.
You're gonna start at at the officer rank.
If I get accepted to OCS, the acceptance rate is like 11%. So it's gonna be tough to get in, but I'm gonna give it my best shot and see what happens.
And what are they looking for when you apply to be OCS, or is that called OCS?
Yeah, it's Officer Candidate School.
It's a school. It's a training.
Yeah, it's like a 4-month school, and then you go directly as an officer instead of just enlisting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So you start as an officer, and we talked about 11% acceptance rate. Like, what goes into that selection process?
It's actually a huge process. I just passed the test. You have to take an ASVAB test. And looking for a certain score, and so I got that score. But along with that, you have to take a physical, letters of recommendation. You have to write a narrative as well as your GPA. You just pretty much is a packet you create and you submit to a panel, and it's all about you. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, but they're pretty much looking for the most qualified candidates.
Because when you talk about recruiting for college football or
Mm-hmm.
recruiting for the NFL, you kind of idea 40 time.
Exactly.
What's your IQ level? What's your highlight tape say?
Exactly.
When you talk about the Coast Guard, you say that there's questions involved in. My question is, what kind of questions are they asking you when you fill out this questionnaire?
Okay. So there's a lot of different stuff. The ASVAB is a test that you take. It's like math and English, but there's a ton of different stuff on there. They ask, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever done drugs? A whole bunch of stuff like that, as well as they want to hear from people who know you and that worked closely with you. So letters of recommendation from those people. They want to hear you directly, so you write your own narrative to them. They want to see awards that you've received in the past, and just a whole bunch of different stuff. All that stuff will go into this packet. Then you submit it to a panel, and they'll choose who they want.
And it's something you seem very passionate about, and we've all known you as you got to run tracks, live in California, stand-up citizen, all that good stuff. But has this been something that's kind of been in your back of your mind for a while now?
A little bit, yeah. Just trying to think about life after track. I honestly never thought I'd see the day.
Right.
I never thought I'd see the day, but it was there, and so I was always thinking, what's gonna be next, and it never seemed real until it actually happened. So yeah, I'm definitely super passionate about it because it's kind of like my next team is kind of what I view it as, and I'm really just passionate about serving for our country. I think it's something I'm very capable of doing, and I think it'd be a great opportunity.
See, was there any family in the background or anybody that in your lineage that influenced you a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Both my grandpas served in the military, and just talking to one of my grandpas, it seems like that kind of pretty much shaped who he was. I was like, wow, I really want to have an experience like that. And then my dad being in law enforcement his whole life, and just seeing, how big of an impact it had on him. I was like, wow, this is something I really want to get involved in.
And I was looking at your resume, and you're just doing a little bit of background research. Now,
yeah, definitely.
I am a professional, so
yeah,
I was
definitely,
trying to figure out some of the stuff going on behind the scenes. And I saw secret agent was one of the things you listed as a career path. And I don't know, you thought about it for a while, but I just thought that was interesting. I never are you a secret agent right now?
I wish.
Right now?
I wish. No, I wish. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe one day. My dad was a special agent for a long time. And so I was like, dang, that would be like an awesome career path. It's something that I feel like would make a difference. And that's really my goal. I feel like that's my purpose is to, make a difference. So I feel like I could best do that as a special agent.
Are you allowed to say your dad's a secret agent?
He's retired now, so I think it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is that when you go scuba diving in foreign countries? Or is that, so what goes into that?
He let's see. He did a couple different things. He was a special agent. He was a U.S. Marshal. So he's going after America's Most Wanted. And then he worked as undercover in low housing income area in Oklahoma. And then he finished his career for the Department of Homeland Security. So yeah, he was kind of in a couple different departments, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
And so that's kind of the route you're going right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my goal, is to do something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
pretty cool.
And right now residing in Redmond, Washington, is that where you're like, because I know you were in California for a long time.
Yeah, I was in Irvine. Actually, my parents retired. They moved to Henderson.
Is that Nevada?
Yeah, Nevada.
Oh, it is,
so
okay.
yeah, I'm actually down there. I'm just up here to visit.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I'm only up here for like a little bit. Yeah, so it's kind of weird not being, in Woodinville anymore, because that's the hometown.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's definitely a bummer, but moving on. Hopefully, I can get this job soon and figure out what's next for me.
And in Henderson, Nevada, is that located close to Las Vegas, or is that?
Yeah, it is.
Reno,
It's like 20 minutes outside of Vegas, which is it's definitely like totally different scene than up here. It's a lot hotter. It doesn't rain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. It's just a temporary place. My parents just moved there temporarily. So yeah, it's not long term or anything, but it's just
Well, that
right
Las
now.
Vegas area, if you include suburbs, I didn't know about Henderson, but I live in Las Vegas like during summers.
No way.
My dad he flips houses down there.
Oh,
so,
no way, that's sick.
Every time he has to fix something up, he drags me along.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we go
yeah.
down there paint and stuff like
Oh,
that.
no way.
Yeah.
That's
So I definitely
sick.
know a lot about Vegas.
Oh yeah,
living
it's
down
right.
there.
It's like right outside, like 20-30 minutes.
Okay, and the reason why I bring up Vegas is that's such a booming market, because I think people have realized, and this applies to track, is that you can do that stuff year round in Las
Exactly,
Vegas. It's like, especially
exactly.
like baseball, like tons of baseball tournaments happen there.
Definitely, yeah.
Like football's huge down there, like Bishop Gorman. I think.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, definitely, they're crazy.
So yeah, I mean that's something that if you want to be a track star, you might want to go to Vegas.
Yeah,
now.
no, definitely. As long as it's not too hot, but
right.
Yeah, it was nice going back there for like winter break and different breaks, just being able to go train at the local high school, because I didn't have to put on 4 layers like I would up here.
Oh, good
I could
point,
just
yeah.
I could just go out to the track and get my work in. It was like super easy because it was still hot.
It's like for you right now, I mean, obviously, like, you're not going to be like running races or anything right now, but I mean, you can't just stop running, right?
I know. That's like, I feel like the biggest question when you see all the graduating seniors from the track class. Everyone's like, what are you going to do? You're still going to compete? I've had a lot of teammates compete unattached and had a lot of success with it.
What does unattached mean?
Unattached is basically, so post-collegiate, unless you're one of the top runners, you're not going to get picked up by a sponsor, so you won't be professional. But people can run unattached, which means that they're not on a team, and pretty much just try to get noticed and get picked up by a sponsor, or just join a club and run. A lot of people from the Concordia track team will join Cal Coast. We've had a lot of success with people running with Cal Coast. And then we have one teammate, Sterling Jones. He ran on the team my freshman year, and he has some sponsorships now, but he just qualified for the USA National Championships in Sacramento, and he ran at the Olympic trials.
And that's like a process, because I know the next Olympics will be like, what, 2018, isn't it?
2020.
Yeah,
2020 or 2018 is going to be winter, but 2020 is next.
Oh,
outdoor.
okay, yeah. So they're already preparing for 2020, like with the trials going on right now, right? Is that what you're saying?
This is world champ. This is the USA. USA is for the World Championships in August. So that's what people are trying for right now. But people are always got the Olympics. That's always everyone's main goal at the end.
Is this to make it to wherever it's going to be in 2020?
No, this is just for the World Championships in August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, because to the casual observer, we think of track and we think of 2020 Olympics.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
I
that's
guess
the main
what you're
stage.
talking about right now is the World Championships
in August. Yeah,
that happens every. Because I see
that happens.
I see on ESPN right now, they're like running a ton of track, like college tracks. So like what's going on? Like what's going on right now?
Exactly. So yeah, they just had the NCAA D1 national championships, and then there's been a ton of pro meets going on, because people are trying to qualify for their country's nationals so they can get a mark for worlds.
And you're talking about a lot of your alumni, your people that are graduated with you.
Mm-hmm.
Are just sort of running called the California League. Is that what you called it?
It's a club called Cal Coast, and one of our coaches is in charge of it. It kind of runs the club, and there's been a lot of different people who would graduate from Concordia and then go run at Cal Coast and had a lot of success running for the club.
And so what's the age range of these competitors? Like obviously you got like a 23, 24-year-olds that just wrapped up at Concordia or local colleges, but do you see like 28, 29-year-olds still trying to pursue a dream?
Yeah, definitely. You see people into their 30s still running, trying to get a mark. And then you even see like a master's class of people who are in their 50s just competing so they can still compete, which is pretty cool.
So it's kind of a balance of having a platform to pursue your dreams and continue on to the next level.
Definitely.
Also, while some people just love it and
Exactly.
like it's like, what do you do after college? You know, it's like
exactly just trying to find where you fit in.
So and I know that you like that's not like where you're going right now, but as far as like your speed and your ability, like to me, I feel like it would be a little bit sad, like you kind of not peaked, but I mean you probably won't ever go. I don't want to use the word.
No,
peak, like,
I understand.
Back to
after I ran some of those PRs this year, I said, "Ooh, I don't know if I'll ever touch that again." We have an alumni meet that we started where alumni will come back and compete. So I've been joking with a couple of my buddies. Like the day after our season's finished, we're like, "Hey, let's get ready for that alumni meet."
Well, how soon after you retire? You not retire, but like you graduate.
Yeah.
How when is the next alumni meet after that?
It'll be next December.
Oh
so,
yeah,
I got plenty.
Some
of
people
time.
might not make it. Some people like will like 6 months. Like they're kind of like
everyone. Some people are just like, all right, that's too far. Joking with one of my teammates, he's like, yeah, my goal is to be 300 pounds by the next alumni meet because he just finished. He's just messing though. You better not be serious. But yeah, we'll joke around. We'll probably get out there, make a little relay with some of the guys who just graduated and have some fun. And it's really cool because we'll go back and it'll be awesome to see where my teammates that are still competing, where they're at, and just see them get after it because that's like the first taste of competition is the alumni meet, and you're fighting for a spot on the travel roster. And you're really just fighting to show where you're at right now because that's like right before indoor season starts.
Because you guys were like the cream of the crop this past season, and some of these younger guys coming up in the system, they'll get a chance to compete against you guys and see where they measure up with where they want to be. Is that kind of like the format of it? Like you race some of the younger guys as well?
Definitely, yeah. It's super fun to see with the new incoming freshmen what they got. And this past year we had 2 freshmen on the guys sprint side that were moving. Chris Youngs and Ryan Ross, those guys got some speed, so I'm super excited to see where they're going to be at this upcoming season. Chris finished really strong, and then Ryan, he ended up getting hurt, which is a bummer into the outdoor season, right when it started, and that guy's got some wheels. So him coming back healthy, and then Chris got another year under his belt. It's gonna be cool to see the young guys step up next year.
So there's still some things going on in track culture in your life, and like where you're going in the future with that.
Definitely.
But I want to start from the very beginning.
Definitely.
What first got you into running track?
So I ran my first race in 2nd grade, official track race in 2nd grade. Basically, my dad noticed. He's like, "Man, I was playing soccer.
This
guy's running by everybody."
Your son?
Yeah. His son, yeah. He noticed. He's like, "Man, his son is running by everybody. Let's get him at a track meet." And this is back when I was living in Oklahoma. My first race was a 50-meter dash in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I went out there, beat some people. So I had fun, right? Winning's fun. That's one of the main reasons you run track. You like to win. So I just kept with it.
So I didn't know you started out in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I never even heard about that.
Yeah, I lived in Oklahoma when I was 2 all the way up till halfway through 4th grade.
Oh, so yeah, so you ran there for a couple of years.
Yeah, I ran there, and I was a youngster, but I was out there running, placing top in state as a little guy. And then,
so you were competing with this, like, cause when I think of elementary track, I don't think of like competing at state or anything like that. I just think of
it was
running on a dirt track.
No, yeah, it was. So it's called like USA's an AAU track. So it was like kind of like select track for the basketball people out there, and it basically it's separate from the school. It's like kind of on your own or with a club, and you would just run against the state if you qualified.
No way. So when you're talking about 2nd grade running the 50 meter, you're not talking about running for your elementary school.
No,
or anything
yeah,
like that. You're talking about. So at 2nd grade, 7 years old, you're already competing with like the top 7-year-olds in the area at least.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and then you're pretty much competing with the same guys year in and year out.
And are you talking about competing with the country, or are you just competing with Oklahoma, like that?
Yeah,
state
just
level?
Oklahoma. The farthest I ever made to was regionals. But yeah, it was always cool to see. It was always cool to see the guys and like where they'd go, because you'd see some guys on TV playing football or still running and stuff. So you see some of these guys still made it big.
Some of those guys that you compete with at that track level, like
exactly.
at that young age, and they go on to get scholarships to do other sports
exactly.
or something along those lines.
Yeah, so yeah, it was pretty cool.
So when you come up here, were you able to find like a local AAU like track team, or were you?
Definitely.
Okay, tell me a little about that.
Yeah, so I ran with the Issaquah Gliders, and that was a great experience. One of my buddies that I always ran with ended up running at University of Kansas. Drew Matthews, and he was a great athlete, and I started running with him in 5th grade. When I was in 5th grade. We ran at state together when we were young. And yeah, that was really cool. It was based in Issaquah, the gliders. And yeah, that was awesome. And then once it got to 7th grade, you could run at the junior high too.
And were you running just sprints at this time, or were you running like a little bit of long distance? Or
I've always been a 1-2 guy. And then once I got into high school, Coach Cody was the one who finally started pushing me to say, hey, try the 4. But up until high school, I always ran the 1 and the 2, 4x1. Never touched a 4x4, and I'd run 1 open 4 in my life up until high school.
So yeah, that was something that you were really considering, like the 400. What about field events? Was that something that was a big part of that culture?
I was never into field events.
Ever?
Ever, yeah. two of my buddies, Eric Hong and Nick Lugarden, were always like, you got to try long jump. You got to try long jump, and because they were always big into field events, like you could be good. Went out to one practice. Tried a long jump. Coach Sandy saw my form, was just like, yeah, you're not going to be a long jumper. It wasn't happening. It was fun though.
Because when you talk about excelling at a track event or any sport, really, you got to start from a young age. So
exactly. If
you were running with Issaquah gliders, which by the way, when I was thinking about talking about early track days, I was literally just expecting you to talk about I ran at Wellington or I ran.
Oh yeah, I did run at Wellington, but I ran. No, but
it wasn't as serious though.
No,
right?
Not at all.
Oh,
it was completely different. Yeah, it was completely different.
In 50 meters was the standard for 2nd grade, 3rd grade, right?
Yeah.
Did it
50 in the 100?
Did it? Oh, it's like what age was the 100 meter and 200 meter prevalent? Like
that was. Let's see. I ran my first 200 in 3rd grade.
So they were letting you guys run a 200 meter and stuff like that.
Yeah, in 3rd grade is when you can finally move up to the 200.
To like the standard kind of like the normal like track distances.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so under 3rd grade is when you have the 50 instead of the 2.
And then when you get to junior high, like 7th grade, 8th grade, were you still running with the Issaquah gliders, or were you more focused on the junior high team?
Yeah, I was running with the Issaquah gliders, but that's when I started to transition more into focusing on junior high.
And junior high is like it's still just one season though. It's not like
exactly. Yeah.
Round.
So because there was like 4 seasons in junior high, so it was just one of the 4, which is like what
3 months out of the year.
Yeah, 3 months. Yeah. So not a huge time commitment, but yeah, it was still pretty. We took it pretty serious. So yeah.
But even outside of that, like, were you running for any club team, like at that junior high level? Like, were you running for an equivalent to the Issaquah gliders, or?
No, I was still with the gliders.
Oh, you were while running.
But I wasn't running with them as much, just because at junior high you got football, and then you got basketball, and then you've got your track. So then it's hard to fit in the club track outside that.
And I definitely want to talk about your athletics outside of track, because I know that you played other sports as well.
Definitely.
Tell me about some of those other sports that you like to do.
Definitely. So pretty much football and basketball and track, like in junior high, were like, I didn't know which one I liked more. I think I always liked track a little bit more than the other 2. But when it was football season, I liked football the most. When it was basketball season, I liked basketball the most. And then going up through high school, still had the passion for it.
Because like you say, you like track more than football and basketball, and it's probably correct, but it can't be understated that you were a football player. That's how a lot of people knew you.
Yeah,
also basketball, like that's kind of like, because I remember like you playing at the junior high level, you were always on varsity, you was one of the top players on the team. Yeah. And also football, because think about a guy your size running at your speed. I mean, that's something that stands down the football field.
Definitely,
you're playing. You're one of those guys that played. A lot.
Definitely.
And like my question for you is, you talk about excelling, big time at those sports, but then it kind of tailed off. And I don't want this isn't like no disrespect or anything, but it kind of tailed off because you were on pace to be a big star in those sports. Mm-hmm. So like, why do you think that it didn't keep going for you at that point?
Honestly, yeah. I think I might have spread myself a little bit too thin. I think I was trying to do too much. I know there was a week where like it was in between the seasons, and I was doing football workouts like right after school, and then after I finished football workout, I would go to the gym, get a basketball open gym in, and then after that, get out on the track and do my track workout that my coach had given me. And by that point, I mean, like, I think I was just spreading myself a little bit too thin, and it was tough, I think, to keep up with everything.
even though there were high expectations for you, maybe like from some people, like in football, in those communities, like
definitely,
like Brent's got to be that go-to receiver.
Yeah,
no, he's got to be our point guard.
Exactly.
Oh no, but he's got a track going on. There was a little bit of pressure for that. So I want to talk about your sophomore year of football. There was an incident, and I'm sure you remember this, where you saw somebody break their leg.
Oh yeah.
See, I don't know anything more than that, but I think.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So yeah, we were playing Bellevue High School, and I was playing H at the time, and I think it was Solch came around, pulled, and basically I think I don't remember who it was. Someone was engaged with the guy, and then he kind of got bent funny, and then another guy hit him, and then you just hear the snap. And I was in an H, so I was right next to the right tackle, and I saw it happen. That was pretty crazy. That was like the first time I think I'd seen like a huge injury like that.
Because when that guy broke his leg, the bone like protruded through his uniform, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You were literally 2 feet from it.
Yeah,
at that
definitely.
Time.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. Was
this JV football or varsity football at that time?
Yeah, this was when I was swinging JV varsity my sophomore year.
And this was a JV game. Oh, this wasn't a JV game.
This was a JV game.
Because you can find it on YouTube. I honestly don't know what keywords you would use to find it.
Oh,
but
really?
That's where I saw it. That's where I first saw it.
No way.
It was like brutal injury happened.
Oh, crazy.
And because Alexis showed us in our English class, she showed it is that, and they showed you basically looking at it, and then like really looking.
Yeah, I didn't need to look at that. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Wow, yeah.
And then we're just throwing it back right now, but after that, like your style of playing football might not have been as intense or not have been as physical after seeing that.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that that was a little bit different, but I don't know. I think maybe for that game it was a little bit like eye-opening, I guess. But I don't think it didn't really affect me too far after that. I would say I was always kind of more of a speed guy. I was physical, but I was definitely always more of a speed guy. So I feel like it didn't really affect me too much.
Some people might have been a little bit melodramatic about your reaction.
Some people were saying that. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to track. So when you get into the high school level, did the coaches on the track team know who you are, or just in general, like did the league know who you are? I guess at that point.
Going into high school.
Yeah.
So I think my high school coach had seen me run at the junior high championships, the sprints, and the head coach would always go out to that. But coming in, I don't think they really knew who I was too much. But I remember from early on my sophomore year, my coach, I was talking to him, I was like, yeah, track's my favorite sport. And we were working after practice, always working in extra. So I think pretty much right after the season started, he knew I was pretty dedicated and pretty passionate about the sport.
So they might not have known about your times or your career at Leota or anything like that, but they kind of had an idea of this guy loves track.
Yeah, I think so.
This guy wants to be good at track, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was a vibe that definitely got from me.
And were you running varsity for sophomore year?
Yeah. I don't think I might have. Yeah, I don't think I ever ran a JV race. So it was pretty much varsity from the get go, which was not easy because you come from Leota where you're winning every single race. And then you get to high school, and now you're a little sophomore going up against these big seniors, and you're not winning every race. So that was definitely a big adjustment.
And as you get to this point, are you starting to develop like rivals, or people at other schools that like, I know if I'm playing this school, this guy's going to be there in the 200?
Absolutely, yeah. You definitely get that. What guy is on what team, what he runs, and you want to beat him. And you also know you probably see a guy in football, and then you come back and you race him in track. So it's like, I'm seeing this guy in multiple sports, which is pretty cool. But yeah, especially once you get to like King Co districts, like who the guys are, and who you got to beat to move on.
So there is a little bit of scouting going on in track.
Oh yeah,
you definitely
100%.
Want to know who you're going up against.
Definitely.
What they expect. You
exactly.
gotta be prepared.
Exactly. So who's in your heat, and what they run. You know who it is. So yeah, the goal is just to beat them.
And one of the strengths that you have is your diet, because I've heard that you have a very rigorous diet. You don't drink. You don't even eat potato chips. Can you back me up on this right now?
No, definitely. Yeah, that's 100% true. I was, super strict on my diet, especially in season. And I think that made a huge difference. I really think that it is the extra mile that you needed to go in track and field because your body's a temple and you just have so much energy. More energy when you eat healthy like this. I think it makes a huge difference. And at Concordia, it was super nice because all my other teammates were super into eating healthy, so we could always hold each other accountable.
And would you guys? I'm going to Concordia right now. Did you guys like prepare? Have you always been a guy that prepares your own meals, like, or you always making your own food?
We actually would eat in the caf, but the good thing about the caf is all you can eat, and there's always a salad bar, and there's always a grill, so you could get salad and you can get grilled chicken and brown rice. So
every single day?
Yeah. I would say I got that probably 85% of the time. Based if maybe they had fish or something else, but majority of the time that's what we're getting.
Because track stars, they come in all different shapes and sizes. I mean,
Definitely.
you got Usain Bolt, he's 6'5", over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And you got little guys like Johan Blake, who's like 5'8", 165,
yeah.
something like that. So like, where did you find that happy medium? Like, how do you judge your weight to maximize your speed potential?
I think for me, everyone's different, like you said. For me, I'm 6'1", so I'm on the taller end of a sprinter. A lot of the time I was the tallest guy out there, but then you see some guys who are 6'5", 6'4". But for me, for my weight, I'd say I like to be a little bit heavier because I want to feel stronger. You don't want to be too heavy. I pretty much would compete at 182. And I think that's where there's a happy medium between the strength, but also not being too heavy where it'd slow you down. Especially towards my senior year, I was more of a 200-meter runner, and that's I think that was like the perfect weight for me.
Because some people that are casual would say, well, if you're 182, you run this fast. Well, if you're 172, think about how much faster you'd be without that 10-pound backpack on.
Yeah,
but that's not the right way to look at it.
It depends on what event you are. I know for the distance guy, you want to be pretty much as light as you can be because you don't want to be carrying all that extra weight. But you take a guy like Justin Gatlin, who's successful in the 100 and the 200. He's like 5'10", 200 pounds, and he's just super strong. He's got one of the best starts in the world. So I think there is no format that you can say if you're this high, if you're this tall, you should be this much weight. I think it kind of depends on the runner.
So it does involve a little bit of experimenting. And as you're going into your senior year of high school, were you getting interest from colleges about potentially running for their university?
Definitely, yeah. Concordia had given me my offer by then, and I'd been mostly receiving interest from D3 schools, a couple D2, NAIA, but mostly D3 was the interest.
And when colleges are interested in you, like in football, it's a little bit different because they're looking at your what potential you might have, what offense did you play in. But track, I feel like the recruiting is mostly based off of your times, right? Is that what they did for you?
90% is off your times, so they know what you run, and yeah, so they look at your times, they look at your potential a little bit. So they knew I was a 3-sport athlete, and they knew I had a lot of potential because I hadn't had as much focus on track as other people had. We only have outdoor track. A lot of schools have indoor and outdoor. So they looked at that, and then grades is also really important. What type of person you are. They don't want someone who's a hothead who's gonna come in thinking they know everything. They want them to be coachable, and just someone who would fit the system so they could progress through the 4 years.
And what were those times that you had that impressed those Concordia Irvine scouts?
Yeah. At that point, I think I was around like maybe 11:54, 23:5. So going into my senior year, I really PR'd a lot, and that's when schools had started showing the most interest. But it's late in your senior year, so it's kind of makes it tough.
So 11:54, that was the 100 meter.
Yeah, that was the 100.
It was 23.
23:5 was the 200 meter.
And basically, what it comes down to is, and you probably knew at the time, if I can get to 10.9 or 10.
Yeah.
So basically 11.54, that's Division 2. 10.9 D1 2A like Big Sky.
If you break 11.
10.5, that's when you start getting the UW, Oregon.
Yeah.
And then Olympics like 10. Is that the higher?
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. I was looking at the state results this year. There's like one guy who goes sub 10.5. That guy is going to be the guy who's getting full rides from all the D1s. If you can break 11, you can definitely run D1 on scholarship. UW, I think, would usually offer like one or two guys. So you got to be kind of like the top guy in the state if you want to, run on scholarship for, the big D1 schools in the area.
So yeah, that's what makes it, and honestly, I think that's what makes it better than football or basketball or baseball. It's like you can't sit there and complain and be like, oh, they didn't take me seriously. They didn't give me a chance. I showed them what I got. They just blew me up. But that doesn't apply to track because there's no cheating it, right?
Nope. It's black and white. This is what you run. That's how fast you are. This guy's better than you. This guy's worse than you. The one thing though is hand time to like full automatic timing. So you see a lot of people say, "Oh, I run this," but it's a hand time. Hand times aren't reliable, and then you got to look at wind a little bit. But for the most part, this is your time, and that's where you're at. There's no reason this guy's running faster than you. He's running faster than you.
And I'm sure there's a system in place where, like, because colleges, they take this very seriously. I mean, their team's on the line, their reputation's on the line.
Exactly.
So they can't be getting these applications from students where it says, "Oh, I run a 10.6." Like, what's the format for these colleges to make sure they get an accurate time, not handheld?
So if someone's talking about their hand times, they're going to have to look back. If someone's run like 1:10.6 hand time and then a whole bunch of 11.7s automatic, there's something up, right? So they can look, it's not just one time. They're going to look at them. They're going to see their consistency, and they're going to see what they run. If, they run a 10.9 hand time, and then they run a whole bunch of 11 flats automatic, they're going to know it's pretty close.
Okay, so it's not just one or two times they look at.
Exactly.
They look at your whole career and your progression.
Yeah.
So when you chose Concordia Irvine, were there any other colleges that you were considering at that time? Like you said, you were talking about some D3 schools or some other potential schools?
Definitely. I actually had applied to like 10 or 11 schools, but I had narrowed it down to about 5 that I was really super interested in. Concordia Irvine. I was also looking at Westmont, Linfield, PLU, and Redlands.
So those schools, they have a religious affiliation. Was that a big draw for you?
Yeah, I'd say it was. I was really interested. I was Christian in high school, but I really wanted in college to go and see what it was like on my own. And I feel like that also played a big part. I've talked to a lot of my teammates about it, and they feel like going to a Christian school has really helped their faith develop a lot, and I would agree.
Yeah, right. Because like Linfield and PLU, I don't know about Linfield, but PLU in those schools.
Yeah.
But also, the draw of Concordia Irvine was because for the longest time when I saw Concordia, there's a Concordia down in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, Brent's in Portland. That's pretty cool. But it literally wasn't until like yesterday that I was like doing the background research and I found out, oh, Concordia Irvine.
Yeah.
That's freaking Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
That's Southern
Right,
California.
Orange County. Yeah.
How awesome is that being in Southern California?
It was awesome. Yeah, I couldn't complain at all. It was one of the best experiences. That was one of the best choices I've ever made. Concordia is an awesome place. It's right by Disneyland, right by the beach. Got to run in the sun, every day. And yeah, it was definitely a great choice. It's a great area to be in.
And were you going to the beach a lot? Like, were you talking about like that California lifestyle?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Going to the city, right? Going to Los Angeles, California.
Exactly. I'd say we were going to the beach after practice on like a Friday or Saturday, especially in the fall season when we don't have meets almost every weekend. It's awesome, yeah. And
did that influence like where you might want to live in the future? Like,
for sure.
If I want to live down here one day?
Yeah, for sure. Got to get back to Cali. I love Washington. I pretty much love the West Coast, but ultimately one day be back in California.
That is the goal. Okay,
for sure.
That makes sense. All right, so right now we're talking about your career in Irvine, and we're talking about your career there. First of all, is Concordia Irvine a big college, a little college?
No,
what's the atmosphere in that place?
It's a small college. It's right next to UCI. But yeah, it's a small college, but it's got a great feel to it. Everyone on the campus is super friendly, and yeah, it's just a great school.
And in anything outside of like obviously athletics is a part of it, but just in general, I mean, any hobbies or passions that you had outside of track in school?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd say going to the beach was awesome, and then just pretty much hang out with my friends in the dorm room. Always live with track guys, and they would just mob over, and we're always just hanging out, messing around, watching movies, playing games. And then just doing stuff outside when we can. So
I guess you weren't, because like the living situation was you guys are all like kind of together in a dorm.
Yeah.
You're not living in like apartment or a house off campus or anything like that?
It was an on-campus apartment. So it wasn't like after freshman year, it wasn't a dorm room. So I lived with 4 track guys. And it was fun. It was always happening in that room.
So what is the work schedule like for you guys? Like, first of all, like what are the seasons like for track, and what's the schedule like on a daily basis?
Yeah, definitely. So we start practice 2 weeks into school, and then we go all the way to finals week of the last semester. And it's a grind for sure. I mean, it's a long season because you go basically from start of school to the end of school. So it's an entire year. And practice, so pretty much in the fall, we'll go to the training room before practice, make sure that we're ready to go. And then we got practice about 2 to 3 hours depending on the day. And then afterwards we'll have weights. And then after that we'll hit training room again. And yeah, that's pretty much an average day.
And that happens after class, right? So you guys aren't waking up at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, so we practice at 2. So yeah, we're getting our classes done in the morning, getting lunch in, and then by 1:30 we're getting in the training room.
That's probably a better way to do it because you've probably seen the D1 football schedule, like they're waking up at 5 a.m. So I was thinking, like, is that what you guys do? Is that you guys wake up really early?
Yeah, no, we're lucky. We'll have to wake up early for class. Like we have 7:30 class because we have to get everything done by 2. But yeah, pretty much you could block out like 1:30 to about 6:30 depending on the day for
it's just straight
track.
Work for track.
Yeah, exactly. So we never had morning weights or anything. It was always weights after practice.
And as far as the weightlifting, is it this big compound lifts or is there specific like track specific lifts that you guys do?
Definitely. Well, we start off this season trying to build strength. So that's when we're doing the big lifts and stuff, and then we're going to be testing, maxing, 3 rep towards more winter. And then once we get in season, then it's all maintenance stuff because you can't be lifting heavy at that point.
No.
Yeah, so you've got the strength that you've already built up through the fall. So by that point, it's just maintenance.
So right now we're talking about the track lifestyle, talking about what it was like for you down in Concordia Irvine. Mm-hmm. You had goals down there. What were some of those goals you had, and do you feel like you accomplished them?
Definitely, 100%. So going into my senior year, actually, so every year for track, you always have number goals. So I say, I want to run this time. And going into my senior year, I wanted to make the most of it. And actually my goal of the year was, the Friday Night Lights movie.
I watched it.
Yeah. The speech that the coach gives at halftime of the state championship game basically talks about being perfect. And he describes what being perfect is. And that was my goal for the year, was just to be perfect in the aspect of giving 100% every day. Treating my teammates and my family right. And that was ultimately my goal. I said, if I am perfect, then the times will take care of themselves. In the back of my head, I had number goals and a couple other goals. I wanted to qualify for conference. Pac West Division II, it's tough to get to conference, but my goal is just get in conference. And then I had a couple times, especially for the 200 that I wanted to hit. And I was able to complete all those goals. And
because prior to that, were you not able to get to conference, or was that something that you were climbing towards over the years?
I was able to get to conference, but it was always tough. It was always super tough. I actually qualified for conference every year, but this year the conference was just a lot more competitive. So it was definitely tougher to get to conference this year, but I was able to do it.
And then during your time at Concordia, were there any events or races that stuck out to you?
Yeah, definitely. There's the first time I broke 23 seconds in the 200 at Point Loma my senior year. That was the first one that comes out to me. I was actually in the race with one of my best friends. He was in lane 1, I was in lane 4, and I had run 23:06, 23:00, and one of my lifetime goals was just get under 23. And got out well. Didn't have the best curve, and then came off the curve and just attacked and ended up winning my race. And I turn around, and my friend just gives me a huge hug. And I was like, oh, man.
Did you know at that time that
I did not know. He had a huge smile on his face, so I said, something crazy probably just happened. And then I see Coach Woods running from across the field screaming. And I was like, oh, man, I probably just broke 23. Just gives me a huge hug. And then Coach Bowman, our head coach, comes up. And they tell me the time, and I just know.
What was it?
It was 23:60 or 22:69.
So that you really broke that record.
So not only did I crushed 23. So that was like one of the craziest moments right there. That was an awesome moment.
And like for all of us, we have that number in our head.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's download numbers. It's like dude, you just broke this number. You're down.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's like to the people listening, they hear 23 and they don't know the significance of it. But for you, that's a lifetime of work that you put into getting that number.
Exactly.
And it's
days of work. Yeah.
And it's like everybody's chasing their 23 right now,
Yeah,
basically. Hopefully
exactly.
one day.
Everyone's got their own 23 out there. And then once you break it, I mean, everyone knows how amazing that feeling is. And that's what I was feeling at that moment.
And at that point, you choose another something, it's another number knocked down.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
It's a matter if it's like in the classroom or on the field or
Exactly.
any aspect like that. So as we're wrapping up talking about your career at Concordia, I know there's a lot of people that impacted your life there. Can you like say some of those guys that helped you out along the way?
Oh, definitely. Oof, man, that's tough. All right. So freshman year, Jordan Thomas, he took me under his wing, and JT Royston, Brad Battenberg. They really took me under their wing and showed me what college track was all about. And then sophomore year, St. Ives coming in. That guy was a stud. And then I got to give a shout out, my best friend, Brett Hayes. All 4 years with that guy, we have been through it all together. I mean, we've seen everything, been through so many ups and downs. I mean, crazy stuff. A lot of tough times. But, yeah, Brett Hayes, David Amici, Paul Romero, Gregory Warner, David Playtez, Garrett Cash, Karen McLeod, Chris Henderson. I mean, all those guys, I hope I didn't miss anyone. All those guys mean the world to me. I mean, we put in work together, and it paid off. So, yeah.
As we're bringing it back to the present time, looking towards the future, your major, does it apply to where we're going in the future, or is that something that you might not even use for the next 15 or 20 years?
Yeah, we'll see. Business management and marketing. So I think management will help me as far as, knowing how to be a leader and stuff like that. And maybe, get in the business world on the side or something like that. Or, we'll see. But, I mean, you can always take what you learn in the classroom, I think, and apply it to life. Like, I've learned so many different things. So I think it'll help me. We'll just have to see what, as far as the career path goes. But I think as far as what I learned in the classroom, ultimately that will always help me.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal for you is how do you want to be known, for your life, and where you're going in the future.
So yeah, that's definitely a great question. That's what I was trying to figure out, because I was always trying, I was always kind of known as the track guy, and then now I've got to find something new I identify myself with, and that's really where I think I fit in with law enforcement and the Coast Guard. So I think what I want to be known as is someone who's just honest and someone who made a difference, someone who impacted other people's lives for the better.
And yeah, because then you talk about the identity, and like some people, it's hard sometimes, find out what you want to do.
Definitely.
Like, especially like college football world, and like a lot of people chase those dreams, and when it's done, it's really important. Some people I know identify in their fate. Some people identify in whatever they want to do long term. Mm-hmm. And for you, I definitely kind of see what you're saying with the Coast Guard.
Yeah,
how
definitely.
That how much that means to you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we're wrapping up right now. It's been great having you on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
awesome.
glad that you got a chance to tell your story and talk about where you came from.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's been a good time, Brent. Thanks for being
definitely.
on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, that was Brent Constantine. It's sad. It really is a little bit sad. Brent's been running his whole life, and hearing him tell his stories of breaking his PRs, living his dreams, seeing his hard work pay off, it's special. He's been playing sports ever since he was a little kid, and now it's done, and it's on to the next chapter. And it appears that with this desire to be an officer in the Coast Guard, he will continue to achieve anything that he sets his mind to, because that's who Brent is. He's one of the hardest working guys you'll ever meet. Find him on Twitter @BAConstantine, Instagram @BrentConstantine. And if you enjoyed Brent Constantine's podcast, send him a message, send him a tweet, tell him you enjoyed the show. These guys always appreciate that feedback on their podcast. They love hearing feedback on their show. This has been the Superstar Showcase. For Micah Chen, I'm Micah Chen, signing off.
A little bit, yeah. Just trying to think about life after track. I honestly never thought I'd see the day.
Right.
I never thought I'd see the day, but it was there, and so I was always thinking, what's gonna be next, and it never seemed real until it actually happened.